Not everyone in your practice will need to be licensed. You need to go through an exercise and look at every accountant who is client facing and whether they are actually giving advice that requires licensing. And unlike tax agents registration, where you might be able to get one registration for the whole practice, it doesn't work that way with licensing. Each individual that is giving advice will need to be authorised within your practice. With the changes in licensing, you need to take control and look at what activities you want to provide advice on, and unless you are giving full comprehensive advice including product advice, you will probably need a relationship with a planner for the areas of advice that you're not going to give. The relationship with your planner will almost certainly change if you start to become licensed, because you will now be performing activities and providing advice that your financial planner has provided in the past. And you need to sit down with your planner and have some hard conversations with the planner that you're referring to work out who's going to do what, and to make sure your planner is still comfortable with the areas of advice that's left. Most accountants these days say, I'm not giving financial planning advice, I'm just giving tax advice. You need to really ask the hard question as to whether you are just giving tax advice. If tax is the only thing you're taking into account and you're being quite reactive in the advice that you're giving your clients, then maybe you are just giving tax advice. But if you're taking other things into account, if you're taking their personal needs and circumstances into account, their retirement goals into account, or you're providing them with alternative strategies, then you probably aren't just giving tax advice. In terms of self-managed super fund advice, it's the same as tax advice. Are you being reactive? Are you just helping them with compliance measures and tax returns? Or are you being quite proactive in the advice that you're giving your clients? Are you providing alternatives for them in what they should be doing? Are you asking them questions and guiding them on things that they haven't actually asked you about? If you're doing that, you're probably doing more than just giving compliance-based advice that doesn't require licensing. Most of the licensing options offered by institutions for accountants don't actually allow you to sell product. They're strategic authorities that allow you to give strategic advice without the product recommendations, or they're specifically related to giving SMSF advice. So accountants shouldn't be fearful that they're going to be forced to sell product if they get licensed through an institution. What they do need to look out for is things like preferred SMSF admin suppliers, particularly if you run your own admin business or you have a preferred outsourced supplier, and making sure they're not impacted. The other thing you need to look out for is referral arrangements. If you have an arrangement with a particular planner and you become licensed through an institution, are they going to force you to use a referral relationship that's attached to their licence network? If you're going to become licensed with an institution to give comprehensive advice, the product lists these days tend to be very broad. They normally have hundreds of products on their list, a wide range of direct shares. What you do need to be wary of is any more subtle influences in terms of how they try and get you to recommend their product. They might do it through SMSF administration services or platforms that have restricted products, or sometimes the practice support that you might get might be dependent on how much product you actually recommend. There are advantages to obtaining your own licence, but I think the one advantage most people think about is that they're going to have control. And if you are looking at getting your own licence, yes, that's true, but you need to look at whether you can do what you want to do as an authorised representative, bearing in mind that most of the time there's no product influence and you're going to get a lot more support through an authorised representative structure. In terms of obtaining your own licence, there are a couple of reasons I would look at to get your own licence. One is control. Another one is if you are an expert in the SMSF field. A lot of the larger licensees offering licensing for accountants haven't actually caught up with the level of expertise in the self-managed super fund area that accountants are operating in, and you may find licences quite restrictive in the sorts of advice that you want to give.